But essentially, we have put together this brief presentation with a number of activities and areas of work that we're hoping people will be able to get on with. So we have essentially monitoring wildlife, monitoring of the geological aspects of ice age ponds, adopting a pond, being a point of contact, educating people about ice age ponds, and finding more. Now, I hope we can go through each of these areas and chat about them, and get people's ideas about what they want to do, the sorts of things one can do, and how people can get involved in the future. So, monitoring, ecological monitoring. There's a number of, we have an expert here, Will Watson, but we have there are a number of ways that people can get involved with very simple sort of citizen science type monitoring. So even just simply doing an annual photograph from the same point to keep an eye on the progress, and that information can be very useful over the long term. Simple guide surveys following guidelines after being trained. There are a number of online things I think we can do that the Freshwater Habitats Trust provide, so we can point you in the direction of those. And if you have a particular expertise in a species or a group, for instance amphibians, dragonflies or pond plants, then by all means then it would be useful to pick a pond or a number of ponds and carry out simple surveys of those. And that, you know, it can get, the survey can get as complicated as one's expertise, really. So really, that just throwing it open to those who might have ideas and further information about that. I'll shut up for a while, and anybody that has any ideas about how one might do that, or if they want to get involved, and we'll be giving you the contact details for getting involved later. If anybody has anything to say at the moment, please chip in. One of the things I had talked to Sarah about was being a point of contact for in future for the organisation, for Herefordshire Wildlife Trust to be a point of contact, so that we can give people sort of fact sheets to if they're interested in a particular area, they could contact Herefordshire Wildlife Trust or a particular person at the Wildlife Trust, or indeed the Earth Heritage Trust, to be given a sheet which would point them in the right direction of organisations that can, or individuals that can provide advice on doing these sorts of things. So any thoughts on that one? Otherwise, I'll move on to the other one. We can discuss things at the end.
Just a quickie, David, if I could.
Oh yeah.
Wondering, have you got the resources to capture the longer-term monitoring and use that information going forward?
That is one of the things that we have to crack now. So there are a number of ways we can, for instance, the ecological recording. There's iRecord, and people can go along and record things, and that goes straight into a national scheme for iRecording. I think Will's quite familiar with that process, so we can give training on how that would work. There are also other, the Freshwater Habitats Trust has various citizen science projects and surveys where you can go on, and I think online, and learn how to do a simple survey of the whole pond or a particular species. And there are organisations and various organisations that would be able to ensure that the information that's being gathered is going into the right place. Any thoughts on it? Sarah, we were talking about this the other day. Are you still there?
Yes, I am, yeah. Sorry, I was just trying to work out, there's a lot of interference coming through and I was trying to work out where it was coming from.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I can't quite. It's not too bad at the moment, is it?
Yes, yeah, we were looking at how we can collate the data going forward, or what could be done with data that is collected by volunteers. And I think, as David was saying, for ecological data, that's very much about contributing to the national database, so using iRecord or similar to record that data. And then we'd look to work with our, some of you may have met Charlotte Bell, who is our data monitoring officer in the trust now, and see how we might be able to feed into the data she collates with any survey data. But it would be, yeah, it needs to be worked out exactly what data would be collected and how it would be used in the future by a future project, rather than just going out and collecting lots of data and not having a use for it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to collect, you know, from this process, get a number of people and that are interested in particular areas. Then we can provide this an information sheet which would point you in the right direction. So if you're collecting geological information, for instance, go to this person or that organisation where the data could be stored. But it is crucial that we the data that's stored is used in a way which is going to be useful, which is why we kind of need to tap into existing systems rather than, you know, reinventing the wheel and then not have anybody to be able to coordinate it. So we very much want to tap into existing organisations and systems that are going already. iRecord is a very simple one. That's a well set up process, and I think in time we could probably provide little training courses on how that works. The
other thing is that the type of ponds that the Ice Age Ponds project have found, these small ephemeral ponds, are often under-recorded nationally. I mean, they're quite rare anyway. So collecting data in the kind of ponds that we're working on, but feeding into a national project, will actually help provide a lot of information and raise the study data available, because quite often the national surveys tend to be done on quite big water bodies and they tend not to be done on ephemeral ones. So even if the data collected feeds into something like the Freshwater Habitats Trust and it doesn't directly go into Herefordshire, firstly, they tend to be very good at sharing data. But secondly, it helps provide a much bigger picture, and the stuff that they do with it and the conclusions that they draw and the information that gets fed in nationally would be really important. So even if going forwards people are collecting data that feeds into a national scheme, because these ponds are unusual and they tend to be done in places that tend to be, in general, they tend to be more urban because there's more people to do the volunteering. And most places don't have these nice ephemeral ponds, so actually the data you collect would still be useful even if it's not directly collected by us. So yeah, there is a value to sending the data off nationally and doing some of their really, and they've got loads of fabulous surveys. So yeah, it's not just putting it into the local use. There is a definite, we are sharing our data with them, but obviously if people are keen to keep sharing and keep feeding into their future projects, that would also be interesting and valuable.
Okay, can I just add something? Thank you, Beth. That's very useful points. I wanted to say with iRecord, of course, we need to make sure that we have control over the information. I think we'd need to kind of register ourselves as a group so that we could gain access to the data. One of the ways might be, you know, the whole area can be marked onto a map, so any records that are done can be recorded within the, say, within the Hummocky Moraine. I just think it might need just a little bit of work doing on it first. I don't know if that's something that Charlotte Bell could do, if she's familiar with it, just to set it all up for us.
That's a useful point, Will. I hadn't realised that we'd need to do that, but that's exactly the sort of thing we need to
I don't think it'd be very hard, but I think otherwise we wouldn't know. It'll just go into a central database. So we need to have access. So yeah.
Well, okay, we'll try and work out how that would work. That's great.
Hello, it's just thank you.
So
I'd be interested in helping out with surveys.
hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Sorry, I can hear you. Of somebody offering help. I can't see your. You're a bit muffled at the moment.
It's Viv Quinn here. I would be interested in helping with surveys that would need some additional training with what's there. I already just have a lot of support and forest and things, and a lot of that goes to the heritage record, and that where they collate all the information. Does your information go there as well?
Right, I'm not. I can't really hear you very well there, but essentially, right at the end of this presentation, we'll have contact points for people that are interested in getting involved. So if you can email or go to the website and let us know that you're interested, then we'll know who you are, and we can get in touch with you and involve you in this process. Really sorry, I can't hear you very well. So
I got that, Viv. I think I got most of your details.
Okay.
We'll have an email chat. But yeah, we are sharing our details with the Herefordshire Biological Record Centre. I get the name wrong because
that's right.
Yeah, we are. One of the things we've done is all the detailed records of people like Will and the various volunteers as part of the project. We are sharing with them. It won't surprise you to know it's not the geology bit that I deal with, but the stuff that they're sharing, we are sharing with them. But yeah, since I got that, I've got your name down for doing more surveys, and I'm sure that one of the things we wanted to do is we still got a bit of time to see if we can make sure that any training that people would need, we can either get set up or make sure we're pointing them in the correct place.
Yeah, I was involved right at the beginning, and then something happened that I couldn't continue that, and now I'm in a position where I can do that again.
Excellent. We'd love to have you back, Viv.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Viv. So if we move on quickly to the geological monitoring, hopefully we'll have something to say about.
Yep, I would happily talk about that. So quite a few of the sites are either were previously, or we hope to, fingers crossed, get them designated as local geological sites. These are a geological designation that runs in parallel to local wildlife sites, but obviously picking up on geological features that are of a local, or in fact, it's used to be known as regionally important geological and geomorphological sites. Bit of a mouthful, shortened to RIGS, now known as local geological sites. The Hereford and Worcestershire Earth Heritage Trust is the local geological record centre, so the equivalent of the one in Herefordshire, covers both counties. And we're the organisation that looks after that data, but we're also the organisation that acts as the local experts, if you like, for geological sites. So people getting in touch going, you do get a surprising number of people getting in touch going, do you know about, I don't know, sandstones or fossil quarries or limestone? And one of the things in that is the equivalent of a local wildlife sites which are very important for wildlife. There are geological equivalents, and there are several already that are local geological sites that are ice age ponds. And as I say, as part of the project, some new ones came up that we didn't know about. And we are genuinely, next month, in fact, I'll be having the meeting and putting them forward to the panel of experts and saying these sites are really significant. I think they should be protected. It's the lowest tier of protection, but I think they're important. As part of that, we have a team of volunteers, and always looking for more, who go and check the condition of these sites from a geological point of view. In general, because geology moves slower than wildlife, as it were, this tends to be, we have a set of criteria that they've been chosen for, and it's a case of going back, revisiting the site, and saying the thing that we said we would protect or that was of interest is still there. This becomes significant if sites are, in the case of the Ice Age ponds, as long as no one does anything radical, then the chances are the site is still in good condition. But it could be, for local geological sites, we have problems in old quarry sites where you get completely overgrown and you can no longer see the feature. And so it's that kind of, we call it condition monitoring, and we send volunteers out every few years to go back, visit the site, take some pictures of what it looks like now, maybe re-liaise with landowners in advance of them going, just say, hey, yeah, this is what's happening, this is where we're at, update them if we've got new exciting information. So for example, we now have some dates from the north part of the area, so if you've got similar sites, there's a bit more we can tell you about them, but that kind of thing. So we are always looking for volunteers to come out. I have to say, this is a really nice picture of someone doing water sampling in glorious weather. And I won't lie to you now, geological monitoring is almost exclusively done in winter because it's when all the vegetation dies back and the landscape and the land features tend to show up. So you're more likely to be in thermals than you are shorts and t-shirts for this task. But I don't want to put you off. It's fun, but maybe you're not quite as sunny as this picture would lead you to believe. But yeah, so we're always looking for people to get involved in doing that. We do offer training and support, and we wouldn't expect you to just randomly go knocking on doors. But it's you wouldn't necessarily need to be an expert. If you are, brilliant, but the monitoring is about going and checking that the condition is the same or ideally better. And it might be that you say, it'd be great if that fence could be mended and we can start liaising with landowners, things like that. So it doesn't require you to be an expert. We can provide the support. So if anyone wants to do geological monitoring, I, for one, would be delighted to hear from you.
So yeah, protocols and forms that you can.
Yeah, we have protocols. They're nationally agreed forms. It isn't something that the Earth Heritage Trust has exclusively done. It's actually part of a national scheme, and across the country there are teams of volunteers doing this in their area. We do report back on them to the Natural England and the National Office. We report back about how many sites there are and the kind of conditions they're in. They're much lower level than the sites of special scientific interest, but because they're local designations, these sites in many cases might be the only ones you can see. And there's various reasons. We have 4 criteria for designating them. So yeah, it's all set out, relatively simple forms, easy to follow. It's a lot of tick boxes, plus some photographs in general. And yeah, we're always looking for new volunteers to get involved.
Great. Thank you, Beth.
It would be, sorry to butt in, but it would be good from the Natural England point of view if we could have on our mapping systems to be able to know where they are. Because I'm a catchment sensitive farming officer, so I'm going out a lot on the fields and coming across the ground. And I mean, we have things what we call priority habitat inventory when we're doing sort of inspections for farms. I mean, and I think these would fit in that remit really. If we could sort of, you know, deal with Natural England, our sort of habitat teams, and get these marked, so us as Natural England are aware they're there, it'd be really good.
Yeah. So is that's something your Earth Heritage Trust are working on, isn't it, at the moment, Beth?
We don't tell Natural England, I'm talking specifically about the geoconservation people, we don't tend to tell them specifically where each individual site is. We report back on the number of sites we have and the condition those sites are in. However, that doesn't mean that as part of this, we've certainly got kind of fairly clear boundaries about where we've chosen to study and why. It's to do with how these ponds formed. And certainly I don't see why, I don't know that we could definitely say categorically, here's every single pond, but we definitely could highlight the outline and say, look, if you're looking at a pond in this area, then it's something to bear in mind. That type of information is definitely something we can share.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that, Ollie. That's a really good idea. Do you have the local wildlife site information on your databases when you're going around?
So I would have what's called alert mapping and what's it called? Web map, we call at Natural England. So it's basically a category of loads of options we've got in protected areas, different loads of different things, and we put on layers. So when we're investigating, say, a farm through diffuse water pollution, because that's what I was wondering with these, does livestock have a big influence on them through nitrates, phosphates, and through runoff, really? So it'd be really just, you know, but I will speak more about it, you know, when from the farming point of view.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Right.
If anyone wants to be a geologist person, my details will be available at the end. Just email me. I will be right back in touch.
I think I might be, actually. So yeah, thank you. I might do.
Excellent. Always keen for new volunteers.
Excellent. Okay, brilliant.
Okay. The next one is very much a sort of a community thing, I guess. Doesn't have to be, but it could be. So it's adopt a pond. And Sarah may be able to talk. She's very much involved in community work around. So setting up a local group in your town or village to look after a pond. There may be these sorts of things going already, but if we can look after ice age ponds, it would be fantastic. Or even to help a landowner that you know has an ice age pond, to help them out with management. So all sorts of options. And this is very much a thing that communities and individuals can get involved with, and very much involving your local area. Any thoughts, Sarah, on this one?
Yes, yeah, I can say a bit. Quite a lot of you have probably heard me talking about Team Wilder at some point over the last few months, which is very much about people taking action in their local communities, forming community groups and caring for pieces of land in their communities. So this is kind of leading on from that. I think David and I were talking about how pond champions could have access to resources that we might be able to put together, or that volunteers from the project could help to put together from their experience of working on the ponds, so that there's some fact sheets that could help support groups that want to look after a pond, that might say tips about management or people to get in contact with about management or surveying. And it's very much about identifying places in your local community that you'd like to care for, and then getting a group of people interested in taking part. And we'd be very happy to support in helping those groups perform and to get started, and sharing that information with them.
Great. So there's lots of opportunities there, and we'll be sort of encouraging, through the pond project as well as through Sarah's projects in the future, encouraging people to do that. There's already one or two. I mean, as a result of the pond project, there's the Ice Age Ponds project. There's at least 2 or 3 where communities have got involved with, or we sort of built on an already existing interest of the local people about a particular pond, and just sort of enabling future conservation to happen. So that's grand. So being a point of contact, this is something that could involve anybody who was interested in ponds, and could, even if it's just a question of, if somebody has a, in a local parish, for instance, has questions about ponds, knowing not necessarily all there is to know about ponds, but to know who to put them in touch with in order that their interest or their pond they can get advice to do that. So that's kind of something that's there in any area really, and particularly in local parishes. Something that if you're aware of that sort of thing, it will be worth making your local parish aware of that's an option. And again, that would probably have to go through Sarah's Team Wilder project in the future. And this is for those of there's a few of us I know in the project. Some of our volunteers in the project are already very knowledgeable, and they could probably quite easily, if they're into this sort of thing, take a guided walk around their local ice age ponds. So so if you know of anybody, or you are a person that would like to do that sort of thing, and you know that there are ice age ponds in your area, again, that's if you can let us know that you're willing to do that and where you are. If there's interest in that area, we can certainly facilitate that in the future to happen. Any thoughts on that, anyone, before I move on to the next? So the next one is find more ponds, because we've barely scratched the surface of ice age ponds in northwest Herefordshire. We know there's lots out there, and we've found quite a lot of them and located a lot of them, but there's still some that will keep cropping up. One of the tricky things is finding out who owns them, on whose land these ponds sit, and then talking to them, first of all finding out who they are, and then getting in contact and asking them if they are happy for a survey, if that's the case, if that's possible. And as I say, in future we're hoping to get another project going that will be able to survey the more ponds, but that's something that you know, even if you were interested in scouting around a particular area at sort of 10 kilometre square or a 5 kilometre square, and just pinpointing them and sending them in to whoever is around at that time, again, we will provide a focal point for that information, and that, you know, could feed into future projects. And when more, it's either getting involved in this regular citizen science type monitoring that we're talking about, or feed into the further recording of the sort of thing that we've been doing in the Ice Age Ponds project. Any thoughts on that one? It was actually that map there was put together by something that Beth put together in lockdown, and she had a wonderful bunch of volunteers looking at different maps from different periods of time, and then and also aerial photographs, modern maps, old maps, and then going out and ground truthing that in ones and twos later on, and that provided an awful lot of data, very useful data about those which were there, those which had disappeared, those which were in reasonable condition, etc., etc. So it was a relatively simple project. Took a lot of coordinating, but we've got a lot of very useful data from that, and that's something that could be ongoing.
I was going to say, if you ever struggle with finding someone's land or the landowner, give me a shout, because I have an access that I can access for the farmers for the job, you see, and I'm sure it's okay, you know, to pass that on to you regarding this. So just always give me a shout.
An absolute joy to hear, Ollie. I wish we'd met you earlier.
I know most of the farmers in Herefordshire, so it's and just saying, you know, when we're walking around, you know, doing the farm visits, we come across a lot of similar to what we're seeing on here. Yeah. So it's very eye-opening to, you know, to be on here to alert you to the ones I come across, I think.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we need to do another and we've got various talks coming up. Unfortunately, if you go onto the website, you'll see the one that actually Beth and I did a couple of weeks ago on an introduction to Ice Age ponds, so it tells you where they are and how they were formed. But yeah, we'll have a chat later. That's brilliant. Cool. Thanks for that, Ollie. Okay, so this is basically that's it. Those are the roles, and if you know anybody that's interested in getting involved in that, then at this stage you can email me. That's mine there, D Hutton, or Beth. Shall I quickly? I can send Beth's email to the people that are here, or I can put it on the recording.
So I'll put it in the chat as well. My email address goes out a lot. So we'll make sure you get hold of us. And if you do email David, he will pass them on. He's very good like that, as does Sarah.
And also, one easy way is if you go to the Herefordshire Wildlife Trust website there, which is quite easy to find, then go to projects, Ice Age Ponds projects, and then there's a page there about it's get involved. And there is a form there right now, which says if you want to get involved, it's all about this essentially. If you want to get involved, then let us know who you are, and we'll be in contact with you. So that's a very easy link to send to people. And also, we will be having a drop-in event on the 2nd of April at Webley Village Hall. So it's a sort of afternoon going into the evening event, where we'll be inviting all of the volunteers, all of the landowners we've been involved with. There'll be 2 talks, one in mid-afternoon and one early evening, where we will be sharing some information. We'll be having so basically sharing information about the project and telling people what they can do. During that day, we'll have an information point where people can come in, and again, if they're interested in doing any of these champion type roles, we can actually talk to in person and get details and work on that. So yeah, a couple of ways to get in touch there. So that essentially is it. So if anybody else has anything to say, then please do, or email me later, or bring it in the chat, and we'll get back to you.
David, can I, just a quickie. You haven't mentioned anything about working parties at all. Do you see that as an ongoing thing separately, or as possibly part of this?
It could indeed be. It's something that is, again, if we could I mean, as you know, there are the Wildlife Trust has working parties on various areas like the Sturts, so they're ongoing. It's something I haven't actually put into this, but there's no reason. Thank you for raising it. There's no reason why we couldn't set up something like that. So yes, thank you. I'll put that one. I'll write that one down as a possibility. It would rely, as most of this does, I suspect, on individual volunteers sort of volunteering to be the coordinator or the holder of tools, or somebody that could go in and pick up the tools or coordinate the meeting points and things like that. Because what we can't do is lump that job on somebody at the Wildlife Trust, because they're already run off their feet looking after their individual reserves. So it would it's a model we could try and see if it works, and Sarah might be interested in making that work as well. So thanks for that, David.
We've got some sites that we're planning to work on that are sort of non-Wildlife Trust reserves, haven't we? So,
well, they're all well, apart from the Sturts, they're all non-Wildlife Trust reserves, aren't they? In fact, there's 2 coming up. There's one, you probably know about this, David. One next Friday at Sturts, and I'm just about to advertise another one on the following Sunday, which is Sunday week. That's going to be at the Weir Gardens. On the National Trust pond at the Weir Gardens. I'll be emailing information about, or invitations to that, either later on this week or early next week. But I think there's a fair few people have already expressed an interest in coming to the Sturts work party, where we're joining an existing work party that meets on the third Friday of every month and works on the Sturts generally. But there are a lot of ponds, some of which can do with some management, as Will tell you.
Yeah, we're particularly keen that some other people bring waders, but I appreciate that you have to sort of get used to wearing waders, and we don't want to put you under any risk, but some people have already got them, and yeah.
Maybe we need to buy some waders before the end of the project and store them somewhere.
Definitely.
Waders.
And the other thing is they don't last that long, so there's something that does have to be invested. Yeah.
Just quickly, firstly, Stuart has asked about Ice Age Pond Champion t-shirts with mammoths on them, which I think
I've just seen that. I would totally go for that. I'm a big fan. If I could have that, I would definitely do it. So we'll work on that one. But in terms, I've seen Stephen Brown, you said you'd like to be a geology monitor. Name is now on the list. You will be hearing from me. You may regret this decision. You should see the size of the sites, but they are great sites, like genuinely awesome sites. It's the mammoths. Everybody loves a mammoth, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who doesn't? I mean, I'm obsessed with them. It's becoming a little bit of a thing. But yeah, so I don't know if we can do t-shirts. I may investigate this, because there seems to be that's what's coming out of this, is that all our volunteers need t-shirts with mammoths on.
Yeah,
absolutely. There may be a little budget in the conference budget where we can nick for that.
Sure. Amazing. That has never come up before. Well done, people. Good work. So yeah, do email me if you want to chat or want to see the forms. If you want to know more about any of these, myself, David and Sarah and Will be more than happy to chat. If you don't want to do it over this, I completely understand. So do come and see us at the drop-in, drop us an email. We can arrange to Zoom to meet people on sites, to give people an idea. If you have suggestions that we do we put cameras on any of the ponds? If you have suggestions, then do ask us. I don't think we do put cameras on any of the ponds. I mean, I'd be interested to see what they produce, but that's it might be possible to arrange something on some of the private ones. I would be concerned putting them on the public ones because cameras go walkabout.
Viv is in charge of our wonderful, I don't know if you're in charge of it, but you look after the Bodenham camera down at Bodenham Lake, and they get some amazing footage down there.
I think it's a great idea, because that's one of the areas of recording that we haven't done much of, is, you know, like trying to pick up some of the larger mammals and things. Particularly because they're private sites, and we've got access to you know, a good number. So that would be really something that's quite exciting to do.
I mean, I've got a lot of cameras can be used because I do a lot of barn owl monitoring. So there's a lot of wild cams there to be used. If, you know, I've done all my camera licensing, you know, so I obviously away from footpaths and set up like that. So that's definitely something, if you need a hand with, I can more than happy to help you with.
I also tell you, Ollie, the only barn owl sighting we got was a pile of barn owl feathers at a pond.
Oh no! Oh no!
Probably chewed by a fox, I think.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh right. Oh
but,
no. Yeah. I'm a bit of a barn owl enthusiast, so it's but it's nice to get involved in something different. I think, you know, I need that other sort of thing. So this is really good. I'd certainly be in touch. You know, I'd like to help out where I can. I
think that sounds like a future project.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Ice Age ponds at night.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, not so good for mammoths, but could still be very interesting.
Excellent for newt.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did some good newt torture surveys, didn't we? And the bats. We have a lot of bats.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Where's WGP?
Yeah, I was
that Wellington
gravel pit.
Ah, right. Okay.
Right.
I mean that is something that we can do. It takes quite a lot of organisation, obviously, but yeah, nighttime torching for newts and things can be, you know, very exciting, really.
Yeah, no, it is good fun, isn't it? I mean, after this, I'm off to Frampton on the River Severn to look at short-eared owls. So it's awesome to look at, isn't there?
Yeah.
At night.
Yeah.
No rocks.
No rocks, no rocks. Rocks equally.
I mean, they're there, but we might as well wait for daylight.
Yeah,
it's just much easier.
That's it. It is because I'm very keen of Much Markle Ridge lying along there. Yeah, and obviously the Willow Domes, I spend a lot of time over there walking. So just that,
it is something that I have frequently said. Rocks don't move, so you can just go, oh, they're still there. I'll go back to that next week when it's not raining or hailing. It is. I have less patience than the ecologists because the stuff they have to see is a fleeting glance, and you have to be patient. And I am not. It's one of the things that is different about us. I admire it in others.
Yeah, I know. Fair play.
I think it's worth just saying quickly before we finish that the pond champion idea, we're also looking at community champions and possibly garden champions within the Team Wilder project. So it will be about creating a network of people who are able to go out into the community and share their expertise, but also be able to signpost communities where they can get the help. So it wouldn't be that you're going out on your own, you'd be supported by a network of other people doing similar roles and group gatherings and the like.
If you're a geologist and like this kind of thing, the Earth Heritage Trust also has a series of champions. So again, from a geological point of view, there is a network of people going out and championing the geology side of it. So this is something that has been done before, and you would not be alone from either organisation. We're keen to support you to shout about your passions and share your enthusiasm, because we know you're enthusiastic because we've been out with you. We've seen it, and we want you to have a chance to share that with more people.
Okay. Well, if that's everything, thank you ever so much, everybody, for coming, and thank you for your support. And yeah, please do get in touch and tell anybody else about it, and we will be back in touch with you. So thank you all very much, and good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hope to see you at one of our events soon.
Thanks.